Hey guys, in this video we're going to be doing lesson 5.7. Remember we skipped 5.6. So this one is about quadratic formula. This is another method for finding your x-intercepts, and this is going to be when you can't tell by looking at a graph where they're at. They don't cross at whole numbers always. And so quadratic formula always works for finding x-intercepts, but it is a big, long formula where you have to fill in numbers. And so that formula, we're going to write this in this blank space here. X equals, and then we have a big, long fraction. On top of the fraction is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That's on the top of the fraction. And on the bottom, 2a. And we're going to get to use our calculator for doing this. So let's look at number 1. We always want to label the A, B, and C. The A is the number in front of the x squared. If we don't see a number, we assume it's 1. B, that's your number in front of the x, 2. And C, that's the number that doesn't have a variable beside of it, so negative 63. Now your formula, the very beginning of your formula does ask for negative b. So that just means that we change the sign of b. So if my original b is 2, negative b is negative 2. All right, so let's go to our formula. X equals, we have our fraction. So look back at your formula. It starts with negative b. So negative 2. Plus or minus the square root b squared. So 2 squared. Anytime you plug in a number, just put it in parentheses. Minus 4. My A is 1. And my C is negative 63. So see how I've just replaced the letters from the formula with the numbers, and I put the numbers in parentheses. And then on the bottom is 2 times A. And then we're going to go to our calculator. And in your calculator, to do a fraction is alpha y equals. And then hit enter. And we're going to type these questions in, or these formulas in, exactly as I have them written. Don't change anything. All right, so I hit alpha y equals and then enter. Negative 2. Now, if you look at your calculator, there's no plus or minus button. You have to you do it once with plus, and then you do it again once with minus. We're going to get 2 different answers. So I'm going to do plus first. So negative 2 plus the square root. Now I'm going to type the parentheses and all. Type it exactly as you see it. So parentheses 2, close parentheses, squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 63. And I go down, and type 2 times 1. What you have on your calculator should look identical to what's written here, except you don't have a plus or minus. Yours should just be plus. Okay, and you get 7. Now we're going to go type it in again. A way that you can save some time is by using your up arrows and highlighting this formula that you typed in and clicking enter. And then what you do is you just have to scroll back. And you can scroll through and just change the plus to a minus. You don't have to retype it all. Oops. And we get -9. Number 2, A equals -2, B equals -1, C equals 15. Let's plug into our formula. X equals. Now remember, the very first thing is -b. Negative b is going to be +1. So we have 1 plus or minus the square root. Now it's b squared. So -1 squared minus 4 times a times c. And all that is over 2 times your a, -2. So go to your calculator, alpha y equals, and hit enter. And we'll type that in. 1 plus the square root. Now in parentheses, we have to type -1. See, that squared is outside of the parentheses. Minus 4 times -2 times 15. And then all that's over 2 times -2. And we get -3. So that was once with a plus. I'm going to go back and change the plus to a minus. And I get 5/2, 5/2. Number 3, my a is -1, b is 2, c is -1. I'm going to start going a little faster. If you don't understand where to plug in your numbers, go back and watch number 1 again when I work through it pretty slowly. Okay, and I'm going to also not leave a bunch of silence in the video. So if you are typing these questions in your calculator, just pause the video to give yourself the time to do it, okay? All right, so x equals, go ahead, pause the video now and try to plug it in yourself. Try to write it with the numbers in the right spot to see if you understand it. All right, so -b, -2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm typing this in right now. You can pause the video and type it in to check to make sure that you've got it. And we get 1 with the plus. Then we change it to minus. And I also get 1. So this means this was one of the examples where the vertex just sits on the x-axis. Number 4. A is 8, sorry. B is -10. But there's no number added or subtracted after that. So my C is going to be 0. So x equals -b. That's going to be a +10 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So type this in. And we get 5/4. That's what I got when I used the plus sign. I'm going to go up and change it to the minus. And we get 0. All right, let's move back here to number 7. A is 3. B is -4. C is -32. So we plug this in. -b is going to be a +4 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay, so I'm typing in. And I get 4. And then when I change it to a minus, I get -8/3. Number 8. A equals 5, B equals 12, C equals -81. -b, it's going to be -12 plus or minus the square root of 12 squared minus 4 times 5 times -81 all over 2 times 5. And we get 3. And then when I go change it to a minus, we get -27/5. Number 9. A equals 1. B equals -4. And C equals 1. So into my formula, x equals -b, that's going to turn into a +4, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And we get 3.73. Change it to a minus. And we get 0.27. All right, and number 10, last one. If you feel comfortable, pause the video, try this one solely on your own, and then check your answer. A equals 1, B equals 12, C equals -8. So X equals -12 plus or minus the square root of 12 squared minus 4 times 1 times -8 all over 2 times 1. And we get 0.63. Changing it to a minus. We get -12.63. If you have any questions, especially if it's just how to type it in the calculator, go back to question 1 where I listed out every step of the way and do that so that you kind of memorize those steps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.